There is a country in Europe where entire villages have a population of exactly 0. Not one person, not one dog, not one light on in any window. Just silence, roofs caved in, schools with vines growing through shattered windows, post offices that stopped receiving mail before your parents were born, and the most unsettling part, these are not ancient ruins. These are places where people lived, worked, raised children, and built lives 20 years ago. That country is Bulgaria. And what is happening there is not a natural disaster. It is not a war. It is something far more dangerous than either, because it is completely invisible until the day you look up and realize an entire nation has quietly ceased to exist. Since 1989, Bulgaria has lost over 2.5 million people, not to conflict, not to famine. The country simply emptied. A demographic free-fall so severe that the United Nations now projects Bulgaria's population will drop from 6.4 million today to 5.4 million by 2050. To put that number in perspective, Bulgaria has lost more of its population in peacetime than most countries lose during an actual war. And here is the thing that should stop you completely. This is not just a story about Bulgaria, because the mechanics destroying Bulgaria, the exact chain of cause and effect hollowing out an entire European nation, are already visible in your economy, in your housing market, in your pension system, in the quiet calculation your generation is making about whether having children is financially survivable. Bulgaria just got there first, and what happens there next is the clearest preview available of what happens everywhere else when the same machine runs long enough. 5 reasons why, starting with the one that nobody in Brussels will say out loud. Most people assume Bulgaria is shrinking because Bulgarians stopped having children. The obvious answer, the easy answer, and it is completely wrong. Bulgaria's birth rate is actually higher than Spain, Italy, and most of southern Europe. The fertility rate sits around 1.7 to 1.8 children per woman. The babies are being born. The real killer is something far more mechanical. Bulgaria has the highest mortality rate in the entire European Union, roughly 15 deaths per 1,000 people every single year. Cardiovascular disease accounts for 60% of all deaths, nearly double the EU average. People dying of completely preventable conditions because the nearest equipped hospital is 3 hours away, because the local clinic has no funding, because the doctor who used to work there left for Germany 5 years ago, and nobody replaced him. But even that is not the primary engine of collapse. When a 24-year-old Bulgarian software engineer moves to Munich, Bulgaria does not just lose one worker, it loses 40 years of tax revenue. It loses the businesses that worker would have supported. It loses the 1.8 children that worker would statistically have had. Those children are now born in Germany. They pay German taxes. They build German wealth. Bulgaria loses an entire future, not just a person. And this is where the loop becomes a trap with no exit. High mortality and low opportunity push the young to leave. When the young leave, the population ages faster. When the population ages, the government raises taxes on whoever remains to fund an elderly population that now outnumbers the workforce. When taxes rise, the remaining young workers do the only rational thing. They buy a one-way ticket to London, which ages the population faster, which raises taxes higher, which pushes more people out. The median age in Bulgaria right now is 46. Nearly 1 in 4 Bulgarians is over 65, and the base of workers paying into the system are shrinking every single year. Drop a comment is to spiral. If you just realise this is not a Bulgarian problem, because your pension system is running on the exact same assumption, that the base always grows. It is not growing anymore. There is a dark joke in Eastern Europe that perfectly explains why 2 million Bulgarians left and never came back. Every country has a mafia. In Bulgaria, the mafia has a country. This is not cynicism. This is the mechanical reality of what economists call state capture, not a traffic cop taking a $20 bribe, something completely different. State capture is when powerful people stop bribing the government to break the law and simply become the government, rewriting the laws to make their monopolies perfectly legal. Here is exactly how it works. You are a 30-year-old entrepreneur, smart, hard-working. You start a logistics company and begin winning contracts that politically connected firms used to own. In a normal market, you grow. In a captured state, fire inspectors suddenly find critical violations. Tax authorities freeze your accounts. You receive a polite phone call offering to buy your company for pennies. If you say no, your licenses are legally revoked. Not a shakedown, a perfectly legal administrative strangulation. And then there is the highway. Bulgaria received billions in EU funds to build the Hemus Highway, connecting the capital to the Black Sea, started in the 1970s, and 2026, still unfinished. The government handed contracts to a state-owned shell company, which immediately subcontracted 99% of the work to politically connected firms, paying them entirely in advance. Investigators tracked over $30 million being withdrawn in cash, stuffed into physical bags and driven to a warehouse near the Greek border. They withdrew a highway in cash, put it in a duffel bag, and disappeared. Construction sites sat empty. Journalists flew drones over fully paid sections and found an empty forest. The roads that did get built, laid with asphalt 3 centimetres thinner than legal requirement, guardrails made of substandard steel, gave Bulgaria the highest road fatality rate in the entire EU. 82 deaths per million people, nearly double the average. Subscribe right now, because what we cover next explains something your own government is hoping you never connect to your own financial life. The same machine running in Bulgaria is running somewhere much closer to you. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Martin Seligman put dogs in a cage where the floor delivered random electric shocks. The dogs fought desperately to escape, but the shocks kept coming regardless of what they did. Random, unavoidable. Then Seligman opened the cage door. The exit was right there. Completely free, completely safe. The dogs didn't move. They lay down and kept absorbing the shocks. Their brains had rewired to believe their actions had zero impact on reality. They had learned to be helpless. Now, look at Bulgaria's voter turnout. In 2020, hundreds of thousands of Bulgarians flooded the streets for months demanding the resignation of a mafia-linked government. The largest democratic uprising in the country's modern history. Beautiful, powerful, real. The oligarchs didn't send tanks. They didn't arrest anyone. They weaponized boredom. Since those protests, Bulgaria has been forced through 8 consecutive snap elections in roughly 4 years. Every time reformist politicians won seats, procedural delays and constitutional challenges blocked every meaningful law. Every time a government fell, another election was called 8 times. The message to every reform-minded Bulgarian was precise and deliberate. You can vote, you just cannot win. By the 6th failed election, the 28-year-old lawyer who marched in the rain holding anti-corruption signs did the math. She could not arrest a shadow economy. She could not outvote a purchased electorate. She packed her bags and moved to Vienna, and here is where it lands in your life directly. Learned helplessness is not a Bulgarian phenomenon. It is what happens to any population that watches repeated effort produce zero systemic change. When the people supposed to be in jail are the same people answering the phone when you call to report the crime. Bulgaria's most recent voter turnout, 33%. Not angry, not revolutionary. 2/3 of the eligible population simply stopped showing up. And when the moderate, reform-minded citizens stay home, who is left voting? The captive electorate whose government jobs depend on the corrupt system surviving, and the radicalized fringes consuming foreign disinformation who want to burn everything down. The moderate middle, the people who actually want things to work, completely hollowed out, not by force, by exhaustion. The EU allocated Bulgaria €5.69 billion in recovery funds, a genuine lifeline, but Brussels attached one condition: pass real anti-corruption laws, make the Prosecutor General accountable, create an independent anti-corruption commission. The Bulgarian political class looked at that condition and made a calculation. Passing those laws means building the prison cell they will eventually occupy, so they stalled. Triggered another snap election, hid behind procedural chaos. As of early 2026, the European Commission has frozen over €250 million. Less than a quarter of the total recovery money has reached the country. The politicians are willing to let their own economy starve, rather than give up their monopoly on power. But here is what makes Bulgaria more than just a tragedy. It is a working laboratory, a live demonstration of what happens when every system supposed to protect ordinary people, the judiciary, the media, the electoral process, the healthcare infrastructure, gets captured by the same small group simultaneously. Germany trusted its energy strategy blindly until the factories started closing. Japan trusted its demographic assumptions until an entire generation disappeared. Canada trusted that housing would become affordable until a generation quietly stopped believing it would. Bulgaria trusted its institutions. The institutions were never working for them. There is one path out. Ireland in the 1980s was exactly where Bulgaria is now. Poorest country in Western Europe. Youth fleeing, no investment, no visible future. Ireland did not beg people to have more children. It fixed the mechanics, reformed the legal system, built a competitive tax structure, invested in education so aggressively it became Europe's premier technology hub. The brain drain did not just stop, it violently reversed. Bulgaria has every ingredient Ireland had: a flat 10% corporate tax, deep engineering culture, a geographic position bridging Europe and Asia no other EU member shares. The building blocks of a boom are sitting right there. But the first domino, dismantling state capture, putting the people who stuffed highway money into duffel bags into actual prison, that domino is still glued to the table. Until it falls, the villages stay empty, the doctors stay in Munich, the young stay in Vienna, and the country that survived 5 centuries of Ottoman rule, 2 world wars, and 40 years of Soviet communism continues its quietest and most preventable collapse. Not with a bang, with silence. If this channel has been showing you the world as it actually works, subscribe for the version of yourself that sees what's coming before it arrives at your door. See you next week.